What's happening, everybody? What is going on? Everybody good? Everybody good? Did I put up the wrong stream time or something like that? I'm just seeing a few of the comments or something where it looks like maybe I made a mistake. I don't think I did. I think I set it at the right time. 11:45 a.m. I'm just a few minutes late. I look very red for some reason. We are live. Yeah, did I set the stream at the wrong time, or did I do it right? Oh, PM. Shizer. Okay, hold on a second. I swear I remember changing that, but maybe it didn't take in YouTube Studio. It always is set to PM by default, and then I changed it. 1 second. What a dumb thing. Just 1 sec here. Go in and take a look in YouTube Studio so that there's no confusion. Can always edit out this junk later. Yeah, I don't think I can do it after. I don't know if it's whatever. It'll be what it is today. Hopefully it's people know. They know when I go live. It's always at the same time, same place. That's frustrating though. Sorry about that. All right. Well, anyways, let's chat. We got 141 people here. We're good. Ian says notification seemed right to me. Yeah, I thought it said, I swear to God, I set it to 11:45 a.m. But anyways, yeah, says Trolls Jimmy. Ben, what's up, Ben? How you doing, man? All right, guys. Well, what's going on? What's the first thing I saw today? I got up and I looked at the guitar-related news on the gear page. And I saw that Kiss had played their last show at Madison Square Garden. And at the end, they announced that they're doing their transition to avatars. Anybody see this today? I'm talking about, virtual Kiss. And I went and watched the little video. I have a little experience with this type of show because I went to see the ABBA show when I was in London. When I was over there doing Classic Rock Show last year, we all went to check that out to see what that was like. And it was very interesting. And it was an enjoyable evening. We had a good time. It's not like going to see a rock concert, I don't really know. I guess there'd be no band at the Kiss show. Maybe I'm wrong. Like no real band. Because at the ABBA thing, there's actually a band. So there's a band up there playing the music, and then they kind of look seamless from the ABBA folks, which are beside them on stage, right? And it's amazing because it's, I think the way they do it is they shoot it in some studio using these suits or whatever that they wear, and then all their movements are captured and stuff. But then it's actually just it's a screen with incredible depth. Like you see these LCD kind of screens or whatever they're called, LED screens, LED screen, whatever they are. You see them on billboards or like on the sides of buildings now where it looks like there's like creatures coming out of the building and stuff where it looks super 3D. I think it's the same kind of thing as that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what's going on with the ABBA thing. It's like there's you can't see it, but there's a screen there, and the lighting rig and the truss and everything just kind of melds into the whatever's on screen, and you can't tell kind of where it begins and ends. And then it looks amazing actually, but it's different than seeing a show. And here's the one thing that I took away from seeing it. I took away from seeing it the band, when they actually got a showcase sort of moment where they just got to play and kind of jam out and do a little soloing and stuff like that and take like, you take eight kind of thing. And when that happened, you actually felt the audience get more involved and more excited because there's actually musicians up there playing. And I don't know, it was like an energy thing. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I took note of it, that it was a different kind of feel when that happened. And it was just really, really interesting to me. So anyways, Michael Krause says, is it projection mapping? I don't know. that could be, but it's like I don't really know how they do it. But they showed the Kiss guys, in this video that I watched. It's obviously like a promo video for the whole thing. They showed them in these suits, that were like completely outfitted with all kinds of sensors or whatever, and kind of performing like doing like how they would have made the thing. And I think maybe it's projection mapping. I don't know. Maybe that's what it's called. I'm not sure, but it's a show, just not a music show like a Floyd Laser. Yeah, it's a different kind of experience. I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't be great to go see, but this idea that we can live on forever sort of thing is kind of, I don't know, it's just strange. But anyways, I wish them all the success in the world. Have a great time. It's going to be amazing. Please go see our show so we can stay home and make money. No, I don't. It is what it is. It made sense to me, the ABBA thing, because it's like, if it's a band that's been gone for a really, really long time and they're just not around anymore, but they want to create something that's like, obviously, I mean, there was, merch being sold. I bought a mug. I bought an ABBA mug. It's like, and it's fun. It was a fun show to go see, and kind of like we had a really good time and stuff. All the classic rock show folks went, and it was it was interesting. I told my sister, and she was like, I saw ABBA in 1976 for real. It's kind of funny. But anyways, 777 Danny says the Stones are on tour again. Yeah, which would be, now they are kicking ass. They're just, that's the real deal. So I don't think you'll ever see the Stones do a similar thing. But I could be wrong. Who knows? Have you played the latest SL67, Everything But a Loop? Well, it's very similar to the mods that I have in that amp right there, which is SL68, which, by the way, I will take credit for spurring the switches on. It was like, that was my idea. I was like, can I put all these things on switches? Or maybe John, maybe I said it'd be nice to have like these options or whatever. And John's like, well, I'll just put it on switch for you. That's possible that it was like that. But I think, anyway, it is nice having the things on switches, which are a fat cap, kind of two different values of mid, and the three-way bright, which is the greatest thing in the world for a Plexi style amp. It really increases its flexibility, ability to use for different tones with different pickups, all kinds of stuff. So anyways, and I haven't played it with but it's the same amp in a 50 watt. I know what it's going to sound like. It's the 100's always just a little bigger, bolder. 50s in Marshalls are always just a little more compressed and in a neat way, a little less volume, but the front end stuff's all the same. And regarding the loop, we've gone over this before, but you can't really have a loop in a Plexi and have it sound the way that you want it to. And it's because of the way that the front end, the gain staging sort of happens, and the loop by definition has to come before the power amp. The phase inverter is part of the power amp and a big part of the sound of a Plexi. And what we like about it when you're getting it anywhere above 4 or 5 on the volume is the fact that you're driving hard into the phase inverter. It's getting clipped, it's getting somewhat distorted. And so if you put a loop in the amp, it disrupts all that, and then you're sending your effects into that somewhat distorted phase inverter if you're driving it as hard as you would be anyway, and then your effects sound not good anyway. You might as well just put them in front at that point. So that's the vibe there. Loop in a Plexi is no fun. You're better off putting a loop in a JCM 800 style amp. Another gain stage up front. Try and replicate the driven tone like that, and then don't go into the phase inverter. It's hard to keep the power amp cleaner. Then your effects sound right, and then a loop becomes a functional option. Yeah, favorite EQ pedal? Somebody asked me. I mean, I love the old. Where did that? I just lost that. Favorite EQ pedal, the Boss, the old, huge one that Eddie Van Halen used to use. I love that. I like the MXR too. I like the MXR 10 band is pretty cool too. Like the newest one. Excuse me. That's probably really loud. Sorry about that. Here's a super chat from Joe. I'm a bass player before electric guitar. I love my Strat because it reminds me of a P bass, even though my Telly is nicer. My Strat is a Squire vibe. Cool, man. I love P basses. I played my P bass yesterday. I'm working on a video right now for the Tone Master Pro from Fender, the modeler. They asked me to make a video where I do some different stuff than what other people have done. Like for instance, there's one nice thing that they did was the first 2 effect loops, because there's 4 loops, much like an old G system or like a Helix, I guess. The first 2 loops, though, come pre-buffer. They're fully analog. So you plug into the unit, and then the 2 effects loops come in line. You can't reorder them or anything, but it's very cool. They included 2 analog loops there that you can turn on and off to switch in some, fuzzes or things that might not, treble booster, things that don't play well with buffers. So it's very cool. Yeah. So that's the deal on the Tone Master Pro. So I'm working on. Oh yeah, I was telling you what I'm doing. I'm working on a video where I show some of those things. God damn it! All right. So I put this guy in the loop. This is my. Anybody ever play with this? Hell of a pedal. Amazing pedal. I love this thing. The Automatone from Chase Bliss and the nice folks at Benson Amps. It's basically like having a Benson amp plus a fuzz circuit in a pedal, all done with, obviously not tubes, but and there's some MIDI stuff going on and everything. Anyways, it's got fuzz in it, and so it's like a preamp, kind of like having like an amp style pedal, but you can also switch in a germanium or silicon fuzz. It's amazing, and it works as you would expect with silicon or germanium fuzz that is very sensitive to guitar volume, doesn't like a buffer in front. So I plugged that in the loop, and I played a solo last night, and I sound, dare I say, very inspired on it. I got a really fun tone to play with my old Strat, and I thought it appropriate. I'm using my Sur mostly for this Fender video, but I'm using my Sur mostly in the video. But I thought I better play a Fender guitar just for one of these parts. So I pulled up my old 64 trusty Strat and played the last solo in this piece of music using the fuzz coming out of this pedal. And then one of the other things I'm doing is they asked me to incorporate an amp 4-cable method, because they want to show that as well. So using the loops in the front, incorporating the Tone Master, using it with your amplifier. If you want to use an amp, because there's an amp control jack coming out of it, so you can actually channel switch and all that good stuff. So PT15, using it in loop 4, and incorporating it. I'm actually doing it in kind of a unique way, because the PT15 has a built-in load box, of course. So I'm coming out of the send from the Tone Master, loop 4 send, into the front of the amp. I'm taking the load box out of the amplifier back into the return of the Tone Master. So I've got the whole PT15 in an effect loop, basically, on the Tone Master. And that I can insert the entire head like an effect, basically, and use it instead of one of the internal models if I want to. Kind of neat if you have an amp you love. So all that good stuff. And yeah, so I'm showing all that. I made a nice bass preset, doing a little bit of bass playing through it as well. I made an acoustic preset where I put an IR on the, in case you're using a DI acoustic, do things like that. And then some regular presets as well within it. So it should be a nice video, and it'll be up real soon. I want to get it done by like tomorrow. Yeah. Excuse me. What the hell? Drool over Benson gear. Yeah, I've never tried one of the amps, but this pedal sure sounds good, and the amps do look cool. What's on top of your old Marshall? That's a Pink Taco V2 sitting way up there. And part of my little amp collection. What's my favorite Marshall of all the 20-watt ones? I love that. I've got one of those 45 sitting back in the corner there. Those are fun, but I would say the SV20, the head, just a really good sounding little Plexi. They did a nice job on it, It does sound really good, and I sort of shot it out against my old 50-watt up there, my Marshall, and it sounded really good. I had a couple amps that needed some repair this week, so Mr. Friedman fixed me up. Actually, I've got my Comet, which the pots, which are sealed pots on a Comet, had gotten really dirty, and so just rotating them aggressively kind of is how you fix that. But it was getting to the point where like the treble was like, I was like, is this passing all the signal through, that kind of thing. So anyways, that got fixed up, and the tubes were severely out of match. It had an old pair of duet of the old GT EL34M, which was a Groove Tubes attempt at copying the Muller dual getter. I don't even know if you can still get them. Maybe you can. Not sure. But that was what was in it, and one of them was like super far off, and the amp sounded weird. So ended up putting a pair of old East German RFT Siemens in it, and that I've had around here for a while. So it's back and healthy and lovely. They're a perfect match, those tubes, like 1 milliamp off from one another. And then my top hat red plated and freaked out like the tubes the other day while I was running I was doing some testing of things around here, and the phase inverter was all screwed up too. So got rid of the phase inverter and put in a quartet of these Russian Soviet era military EL84 equivalents that I look like they come from the 70s or something, that I bought probably 20 years ago from Terry Kilgore out in Pasadena. And we'll see how those work. Hopefully good. Yeah. So that's my exciting stuff for the week. How exciting was that? My amp repair stories. Anyone excited to see the new Soldano amp coming tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? I don't think it is tomorrow. Let me double check that, because I'm supposed to have a video. If it's tomorrow, I should go now and get some work done. No, I'm not going to do that. But let's see here. I thought it was. Let me see. It is tomorrow. Shit. All right, I might be pulling a long one today. I thought it was the 6th. Thanks for the heads up. Looks like I got some work to do today. I can make that happen. Wouldn't be the first time. It's a good thing I do this show. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. Oh my God. Where is Kim? Kim's coming next week, man. Spiro Blake. Kim is going to be on. I put up the watch page the other day. I just put up early. If you notice, it's got a date on it, and the date didn't say today. The date says the 10th. I didn't get that one wrong. I screw up a lot of stuff, obviously, but I didn't screw that up. So Kim will be on the 10th, and keep note that it's 2 p.m. by his request. We're doing it a little bit later in the day, so he wanted to do it in the afternoon. I'm fine with that. So I'll see you at 2 p.m. next Sunday for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. What do I think of the Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates in the bridge? It's a pretty low wind affair. I've heard them and tried them, but I've never put them in one of my own guitars. I think they're 8-point-something K low, on the lowish 8-point-something K side, and I think they're Alnico 2. And I heard somebody say recently, they're probably great for a certain thing, and it's probably real similar to a Thornbucker, the original spec Thornbucker, although it's Alnico 4. But I heard somebody say they put a Thornbucker Plus in and they liked it more. That's not me tooting my whatever, but I hear things like this because people tell me things about my pickups when they get them. And they said it just came alive, the guitar, a little bit more. I think it's probably great in a Les Paul. I like low wind, in a there's something about, I've said this before, but Les Paul's, Gibson's glue-in neck, mahogany body guitars. It's like the guitar is hotter. It's like the guitar has more sustain and a little more mids and everything, because of like anybody that tells you that, tone wood doesn't matter and all that, or that it doesn't, it's like, that's just BS. It's like a mahogany Les Paul, glue-in neck has a sound, and it's got more through the mids and more push or something. You know what I mean? Like they just do, than say, I don't know. It's just a thing. So it's like, I've always said that I like the original Thornbucker in Les Paul's just great. As a matter of fact, I have a pair in my R9, and it's awesome, and I have no desire to change that. I noticed in like a bolt-on neck 25.5 scale guitar with San Alder body, I wanted a little more nuts. I wanted a little more push out of the pickup. So hence the Thornbucker Plus. That's where that came from. And now the 2. But, you know, which isn't to say you can't use the Thornbucker Plus in a Les Paul. You can, but it just like the original one was perfect to me in a Les Paul, but sounded a little like not enough mids for me or something in a Strat. Although balance is great with single coils, but it's like I just want a little more push through the mids. So, you know that like basically when a sound is right on the edge of feedback, like, and then the note just doesn't quite get there. You know, you might find that with a lower wind pickup that doesn't have as many mids. And then like all of a sudden with just a little more juice out of the pickup, it will take off. You know what I mean? That's the thing I'm talking about. Like that little more push through the mids, just a little push through the mids. What else we got here? Does Marshall make a Jubilee in a 20-watt form? I think they do, actually, don't they? They make a small Jubilee head. Yeah, I've never tried it, but they do. Would the Chase Bliss Automatone into the front of a Bella be a source of joy? Yeah, probably, actually. It'd probably be great. It's got a real vintage amp grind. I don't know how to describe it, but it's an amp-like drive, because it is an amp in a pedal. You've got a full tone stack in there with treble, mids, and bass and stuff. And then you can also layer a fuzz circuit on top of that. And it's got a great vintage kind of, it's a cool pedal. Like it's, as a matter of fact, I would put it on my board. It's big enough that I could run it off the side of my board, actually, and it would still be fine sitting. It's almost like its own thing. But I always had an intention of making a board with the 2 Chase Bliss big pedals, the reverb and the preamp, and maybe the Sur analog delay and a few other, like, kind of just a really fun, different board than my main board. And probably mono and kind of almost like a studio session board that just, you know, that you could run into the front of a Deluxe or something and would sound really cool. But yeah, in front of a Bella, I digress. I think it would probably sound really great. It's a cool pedal. I did a video for it if you want to watch it. Yeah. Okay. I guess Ben hit 5,000 subscribers. Congratulations, Ben. There's Ben right there. Fantastic. Good work up there in Canada. Nice photo bombing on Tone Talk. Yeah, I ran over to Dave's shop and brought my amps in because that was when my he already had my Comet, but then on the spot my the heck is it? Top Hat died. It's fixed. It's back. There it is. Works again. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. Can you talk about how to EQ FR guitar amp to make it less glassy but not muffled? Are there specific frequencies you like to notch? Not really. I mean, it's kind of funny because a lot of people put these on IR blocks now and things, like the Fender has them. You know, the how you load up an IR, they'll put like high and low cut filters. I guess kind of useful. I mean, I always high pass or low cut guitar sounds all the time. You know, mic'd guitar sounds, I do that all the time. But I generally don't do the low pass or the high cut, you know, like where I'm knocking off super high frequencies. I don't really do that. And I don't really see people do that when they're mixing. But it seems to be like a common thing with IRs. So maybe people find, like, through full range speakers a lot that they're hearing things they don't like, and then so that would be the first thing I would actually try, is maybe if you're you know, using an Axe Effects or something, an FR is just within the IR block, just put a simple low pass filter and try closing it down. Start at 16K and move it to 10, and then move it to 9, 8. You're really going to start to hear it around 8, 7, 6, 5K. You'll start to hear the highs really come off. But that would be the easiest thing to try, you know. You know, you want to leave the clarity, but get rid of the sizzly stuff or extra hiss or things that exist up there that you don't really need, I guess. You know. And you can do that in a separate EQ block or something too. You know. I'm going to grab that super chat up there in just a sec here. Just want to thank you about your IR from 2 Notes. Sounds awesome. Thank you. I'm super happy with them too. I think they're really, really good. I'm always really happy, you know, with them. Just check the website. Not finding PT Sigs at Guitar Center. I know there's quite a few of them out there now. So I don't know about Guitar Center, but you might check. Humbucker, or I've seen a few of them recently. There was a store that somebody just sent me a photo of. Oh, it was one in Guitar Center in New York has one, I think, because Britt was in one somewhere, Brooklyn, New York City, somewhere around there. And so look in New York for Guitar Centers, kind of New York City or around New York City, the boroughs or whatever they call them. There's one over there somewhere. Because her and the band she's on the road with were in one, and they saw one in there. There you go. You heard it from Pete Thorn. Just picked up the Keeley Halo, says Guitar Ninja. What an awesome sounding pedal. It is really great sounding delay pedal. They did a great job on that. Mr. Andy Timmons. Are you as great as everybody says? No, probably not. Who said that? You didn't hear it from me. I've got all kinds of self-image problems, and I'm just as insecure as anyone else. Let's see here. Thanks for the super chat, though. I appreciate that. Any love for the 6-point V trim? John does so many 2-point trims, the classic S body. I'm wondering, what is V trim? Is that the Vega trim? Is that what you're talking about? I have a Vega trim here, and I still haven't tried it, and I feel bad because the guy gave me one to use, but it requires having a guitar to install it on, and being like taking some time to do that and stuff. And I've had it for like a year and a half, so I feel bad. But I do have it here, and I do intend to try it at some point. It looks really cool, and I've heard nothing but good things. I will have an interesting thing to show you soon, tremolo wise, on a guitar. That, the guitar is ready, but I don't have it in my hands yet, so we will wait. We will wait to show you. I've upped my game around here. I just saw my camera sitting here, and this is my Canon that I use for just about everything, and it's an old school. I mean, you can still buy them, but it's a XA50 Canon video camera, and you can see why the main reason why I got, well, one thing, I really like a dedicated video camera. First of all, they don't overheat, which even the best DSLRs or whatever will overheat after maybe 2 hours and shut down. Something about the size of the camera body and everything, and they get hot and then they need to cool off. So anyways, that's one thing about them. It's big and cumbersome, but I like it because it doesn't do that, and it's just simple, and it's got a dedicated purpose, which is video. So I've always liked that. Now, having said that, I just got this week, which is a EOS R8. And this is killer. It's just an awesome camera, which is it's the bottom end of their mirrorless full range sensor, 1-inch sensor, whatever the heck it is in there. And I bought the little kit, so it came with this tripod remote and a little mic on it, which will be handy for some things. But anyways, I need an arm to mount this on, really, in here. I've come to realize that my space here is I got to back up a little bit from the wall. I need about another half a foot or something to get away, and then so that I can configure lighting and cameras and stuff. I'm just too far this way in this room, so I'm going to do that and give myself a little more space to work. But anyways, this, long story short, having this and that, which will both shoot in the Canon Log 3, which is Canon's Log Pro, like high def or wide definition, profile. Man, I shot some video, which, for those that don't do any video, the video comes out looking really gray. But then you apply a LUT to it and color grade a bit, and it looks incredible. So having 2 Canon cameras now, both really high quality, that I can shoot in Log 3 and then do the LUT thing and do the color correction. It's going to look great. My videos should look better than ever, I hope. Not that they've ever looked amazing, because other people have got that, but I upped my game a while ago with color grading, with lighting and everything, and I think they look pretty good now, but they're going to be better. So I compared with what I've been doing, and then using this Log 3 profile, adding the LUT, doing it, I was like, oh, okay, there it is. It looks really good. So looking forward to getting that going. Just got here. Did we talk about Kiss yet? We did talk about Kiss. That's the first thing I hit. We can talk about it again, though, if you want to. Anybody see Kiss Madison Square Garden? I did see some video from the show, and the show itself looked incredible last night. Kudos to them for putting on a high-level, entertaining show for all these years. It looked amazing. A bunch of people went that I know, and I didn't even know it was happening, to be honest. I feel like out of the loop, but they all went, and my friend Why Not went. He took great video and posted it on the gram. Doug, there with a big old super chat. Thanks very much. Please help with my gain selection pedal order. So far, I'm at Klon, into a Blues Breaker, into a Timmy. That's a lot of gain pedals. Into a Plexi pedal, into a Rat, into a Muff, into an EQ. That's a lot more pedals than I use. I would put the Muff up front, probably. Other than that, you're probably pretty good with the order. There's only certain things you're going to run into one another. I mean, the Plexi pedal, Timmy's kind of an ampy overdrive. The Blues Baker's kind of a ampy meets, it's not a tube screamer. It's its own thing, but it's like, I think where you've got it is good. The only thing I would say is the Rat and the Muff. I don't know about the Rat coming. The Rat and the Muff, I would actually move to be, I might move the Rat I don't know, man. I might move the Rat in front of the Plexi pedal. And the Muff, I would definitely move up to the front of the whole chain. So in other words, I would probably go Muff, Klon, maybe then Rat, but if not, then Blues Breaker, then maybe Rat, then the Timmy, Plexi pedal, something like that. Put the ampiest ones at the end. Does that make sense? And the sort of the ampy overdrive should come at the end, in my opinion. Always, and then you want to put the fuzz stuff up front, and you want to put the overdrive stuff somewhere in the middle. Hope that's helpful. But whatever sounds good. If you try it and there's a certain combination where it sounds great with the Muff last, I just can't see running anything into a Muff. Like, it's like you're never going to overdrive the Muff. The Muff already does this square wave distortion thing. You're going to hit it with something that's just going to be a mess, I would think. And a Muff is generally something you kind of use alone. Do you really stack it with anything? Maybe with an EQ, sure. To EQ the Muff, that's common. Like you would see Gilmore do. But I never use a Muff with anything. If that thing's on, that's it. Whereas you would stack the Klon into the Plexi pedal, or the Rat into the Plexi pedal, maybe. Although a Rat's kind of fuzzy too, but that's what I mean. The Rat should move. I think of a Rat almost like a more polite Muff. Like they're like it's a distortion to me. Fairly hard clipping with that big, there's a similarity there, like gain range and filter, but they just sound more like a distortion. More the Rat sounds more like an amp or a Marshall to me, than it was one of the original sort of Marshall pedals. Really, that's really what a Rat was to me. Blues Breaker, we know what it does too. It's kind of a ampy kind of grind, but it's halfway to a tube screamer almost. I don't know. Timmy to me does an ampy kind of thing. Am I wrong? I mean, how do you guys feel about all this? Discuss. What would you guys do? Help this gentleman out. Doug wants to know some opinions. Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. Some info about New York City. GC Manhattan. They literally had 30 SIRs on the wall. Never saw so many in one place. 2 new PTs, 1 sold, 2 Asatos, a Brilliant Modern, a bunch of others. That's cool. Wow, I got super chats like crazy up there to get to. This is awesome. Evidently, me posting the wrong time for the stream hasn't hurt things one bit. Angel City Guitars in Woodland Hills has an original 2 humbucker gold PTC. Cool. I still got to get to that store. I've never been there. It looks really nice. I want to go check it out. If anybody knows anybody there, say hi for me. Let them know I'll come out and see him one of these days. Never been in that shop. So bought a used first gen PT Syracuse Guitar Center, Syracuse. Good things do make their way. That's cool. Phil Button says, I think you're great. I think you're great too. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. Chef Jeff says, I'm a sexy god. I don't know about any of that. What's my favorite Marshall amp? Modded Marshall amp. Well, I kind of tend to like, if we're talking about mods, there's a lot of great, folks out there that have worked on amps over the years and cool ones I've heard. I love the Jose mods. That's why I had that Germino done with all the stuff. Jose mod sounds great, and it does. He kind of it's like Friedman always says, he kind of was ahead of it. Like, he was definitely ahead of his time, but he kind of got it right the first time, sort of. Gain stage in front of a Marshall. It sounded really cool. And the way that he did it sounded really cool. Yeah, but I've heard other ones. I mean, recently, like, for instance, like Friedman was working on some Bogner that came in that had a Bogner mod, and he's like, "That's cool," and it did sound really cool. It sounded really good. Had a neat mod, and he's like, "Yeah, I like this one." Like, yeah, I got to hear that for a minute. It sounded cool. It's just a fat, kind of cool, high gain thing. But I tend to like the Jose stuff. V-trim is an old Charvel term. So you just meant a vintage 6-point. Sir, I know has been experimenting. I think they're using it. I'm not 100% sure, but there was a Wilkinson that was a vintage 6-point that was really nice. That they put on a guitar, and I loved it. And it had a really cool sounding, like, Sir was like, the block on it's great. And it sounds like really good. And it did sound really good on the guitar that they have there. Super nice. What's with the new haircut? Are you joining a Beatles tribute? No, I like it. I don't know. It's like, it is what it is. It's a friggin' shag. Circa Ron Wood, 1972 or something, or Jeff Beck in 1969, or I don't know. It didn't get up and leave yet, so let's chop it up and make it somewhat interesting, not just be a mess on top of my head. What are the thoughts on the new Harley Benton guitars with stainless steel frets, locking tuners, roasted maple necks, Tesla pickups? Tesla's making pickups now? It's got the Tesla pickup truck, right? Built in. I don't know, man. They pissed me off when they basically copied my first gen signature guitar, and I haven't looked back. No, I don't. I mean, I'm sure they're fine for the money. The ones I saw seemed like good guitars for the dough. I don't know. I don't know anything about them. They don't really sell them in the U.S., do they? I mean, it's kind of a Europe thing. It was kind of a Thomann thing. I think they sell great numbers of them, but I don't know where they come from. Probably Indonesia or China. Not sure. What do I know? My favorite inexpensive guitars are the PRS SEs, I think. If somebody had to buy, I think those are really good guitars for the money. If you wanted a nice Strat, you could get I love, a lot of stuff that, Fender does that's inexpensive too. The classic vibe stuff seems really good. They like really nice. And some of the more inexpensive Fender offerings seem like they make pretty darn good guitars for the money, I would say, if that's the kind of price range you're looking in, Jeff says it's a classic rock show going to tour the USA. As a matter of fact, yes. And that was announced already. There's already a couple dates up. I believe it's the Hampton Beach. Is that right? In New Hampshire? Is that right? I think that's anyway, there's a couple dates up on the website. And there's more to be announced soon, but it's all happening in April. And if I do say so myself, I can probably say I think it's a total of about maybe close to 20 shows. So we are touring in April, and that's not right. Here, I'm going to find it here and just post. Classic rock show. I'm just going to find the website. I always go to the wrong one here. Because somebody else has, I think it's theclassicrockshow.com. Yeah, theclassicrockshow.com. Let me see the tour dates. Because I think there's US ones up there now. Let me see. Nothing yet, actually, on the website, but they'll put them up soon. They already announced a couple dates. And one of them is that one that's in New Hampshire, I think. So I don't know why they're lagging on getting up the dates on the website, but yeah, they're coming soon. And so, yeah, you'll be able to check us out on the East Coast. It's a lot of like kind of East Coast think there's some Florida, some Pennsylvania, some yeah. All right. I'll let you know as soon as it's. I was waiting to, till I had a link, and sure enough, there's not a link there yet. So now I'm talking about it, and there's no link, but the dates are coming. Lawrence's Triad Orbit has the solution for you for your new camera. You know what? The arm that I got for the camera is not a Triad Orbit. Although I'm very familiar with their stuff. It's a different one. I found a guy online. I got sold by a YouTube video. I got influenced. But it looked really, really, really great. It's a little less money than the Triad Orbit stuff. Not much, but Triad Orbit, excuse me. But it looks just perfect, the type of clamp and then the arm and the way you can swivel it. And it's this one servo adjust thing. So it's like you move the whole arm into place, then you tighten one control and the whole thing gets tightened. So, because, there's multiple different sort of, when you're swinging it around. Looked really cool. And this guy was doing a video on it. And so I get sold on stuff on YouTube too, just like anybody. Damn it. I placed the order. Has hold. 1 second later. All that bullshit you're talking about cameras and you're still streaming at 720. You know what? All right. Fair enough. Just be nice about it. God's sakes. Does anybody care if I stream it like high def, whatever, blah, blah, blah? It's just, I have an old webcam. That's all. But this camera, this Canon does, I can use it as a 4K webcam. Do you know what the other thing is, though? You have to pay for stream. Like I use StreamYard. I don't know. I think it looks pretty damn good right now, from what I can tell. Maybe it's. You tell me. Do I need to worry about that? Does anybody care if I stream in like better? Because it costs more on StreamYard. I already pay for the, whatever subscription. I have to actually pay more for the high def. And why does it matter? I don't know. It's like for this type of video. It's like Edgar, thanks for that super chat. You're too kind. Thank you very much. If you guys send me all the super chats, then I'll stream in high def, damn it. I'll buy all the stuff. I'll do everything I need to do. If there's a demand, I'll do it. You just tell me. I'm just here to be of service, for God's sakes. Okay, what else we got here? Ryan says that's really a listed distortion. Yeah, that fellow had a lot of distortion boxes. I agree. That's a lot of them. He says I only use 1 or 2 at a time. Cool. Yeah, I like the selection. It's just like, wow, that's a probably pretty impressive board you got there. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah. I was watching a Nuno Bettencourt. I guess it's the come on, Pete. Rick Beato. He's your friend. You should remember his name. Rick Beato's video with Nuno. And Nuno was talking about the rat pedal and talking about how he uses it. And so I found it interesting. He's a big rat pedal aficionado, I guess. Teamit says, help support our friend Pete and please kindly hit that like button. Please do. I appreciate that. Never drive anything into a muff. I see where you're going there. He probably puts all those pedals, puts his volume at 1 because his amp is in his living room. Oh, I'm sure come on. He probably gigs. We all still, there's so many venues for live music, isn't there, out there? All the gigs that are happening lately. I'm being facetious. Guitar Ninja says, any recommendations on a boost pedal that can help my organic lump overdrive for lead selections? Check out the video I just did for the Vemoram, the Buddy G. It sounds really like it just your amp, but a little thicker in the mids, but nothing like a tube screamer or a super overdrive or something. But then you can add the grind. I think it would be a good choice for you, actually, of stuff that I mean, just listen to the video and you'll hear when I turn it on and off in front of a clean amp, you can hear what it's doing. It's really, it can be fairly transparent, just slightly colored if you want it to be, and then adding gain and stuff. Cavalry Kendrick with a super chat there. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the podcasts. They become an integral part of my Sunday morning coffee. Me too. For 5 years, integral part of my Sunday morning coffee. I especially enjoy the ones you do while on tour. Those are extra cool. Thanks. Sometimes I wonder if it seems like, that they're not as cool for some reason to me. But I would agree. I mean, I would think that they would be cool. I don't sense that. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's the same engage, like people like me here in the studio more. there's more viewers and stuff. I don't know why that is. It could be because the time fluctuates a little bit. Probably my fault. But I did really enjoy like the one I did recently where I was able to kind of spontaneously show some amp stuff. That was fun with the 2-amp rig and the stereo and do this little demo and stuff. That just happened because sometimes, you're an insignificant part of the day when you're on tour, especially if you're in an opening band, to get a little bit of stage time and stuff and be able to show something at a certain time and have it come through and actually translate. That was a nice thing, I think, because I thought it turned out pretty good. But anyway, for the month of December, I'll be here in the studio. And then when we get into, January, I'm Classic Rock showing it. So I'll be over in England, and the time will probably change a little bit, and it'll be what it is, and I'll do it how I can. But I always try and do it, and I'm always trying to be here. So, yep. Once again, the Kim Thale next week on Sunday Live. Special time, 2 p.m. Yep. All right. You guys, thank you very much thank you, Glenn. I appreciate the super chats. You guys are helping me out with the coffee here. And like I say, if the demand's there, we'll step up the streaming. All right. Let's see. Trying to fix my right hand picking technique. I tend to wiggle my thumb and index finger instead of using my wrist. Instead of using my wrist. That's one of the hardest things to do is change your picking technique. I've tried. And it's like you have to sit there and just practice doing it. But I would say the help of a good teacher, to watch you and kind of monitor as you're playing and maybe give you some pointers. Somebody that you trust that has good picking technique, and have them kind of, maybe go once a week for a lesson and then have them give you some things to practice and how to do it. I think it's something that kind of almost needs to be monitored, at least monitor yourself. Pick a simple picking exercise maybe and practice it in the new picking style. For example, like I used to do a thing where I noticed some of the best alternate pickers to me. Here, I'm just going to get rid of your question there for a second so that people can see my hands again. But so some of the best alternate pickers to me would plant their fingers. And so say they're just, arpeggiating like through a... Okay, so I'm holding the edge of the pickup with my pinky. Right? And like I would tend to hold my wrist like this and see instantly I kind of made a little mistake because like I'm my fingers are wrapped under, and the only point of contact on the guitar is my hand on the bridge. And I noticed that good alternate pickers would plant their fingers a lot, like on this side of the guitar, So like, anyways, I noticed like I think Alex Lifeson does that. I didn't mean alternate pickers. What I mean is arpeggiating through the strings, where you're playing one note on every string, but doing a down, up picking style and arpeggiating chords. It's one of the more difficult things for me to do. It seems like a very basic thing, but for some reason, arpeggiating through chords has always been difficult for me and getting every note clean. I can play much better single notes, like picking fast and stuff like that. But when I'm arpeggiating through strings, that was always a tough one for me. So I actively tried to practice planting because I saw some of the best people that could do that, I knew, seemed to have a finger planted on the front of the guitar, or and you could actually see, like my friend Al, the way he picked. He was a big influence on me growing up. He was in local bands and stuff like that. He had a worn spot on his guitar where the finish was worn away, where he put his finger. It was actually, and you see that on other people's guitars that do that. Where that's the constant point of contact on the guitar for their right hand. So it felt very unnatural to me, but I would try and loosen up my hand, open up my fingers. You also see like George Lynch you'd see this thing where they almost like fan their fingers, and I'd be like, that's interesting, because I'd always have my fingers like really tight like this kind of, and then I noticed like Steve Vai, when I would watch videos of him, that he seemed to pick similar to me. I spent some time thinking about it. So I would try and like loosen up my hand and like pick like this more, and try different things. But you have to kind of sit there and do it with a metronome, and maybe even watch yourself in a mirror as you're doing it, because you're trying to actively train yourself to do something that is different than your natural thing that your body just goes to for probably many years, you know? So that's all I can say is you have to realize the way that you want to pick, try and copy that motion, and then maybe sit there with a metronome and maybe put in 15 or 20 minutes a day, but just doing that, like only that thing, trying to retrain your physical, you know, your innate sense of like how you want to hold your hand or whatever, you know? So hopefully that makes sense. What's my favorite Klon style pedal? You know, man, there's so many, and it's like I don't subscribe to this. Like, it's kind of funny. It's like I remember trying an original one against a really good clone, and the original one, which I didn't even want to believe, it did actually sound better, a little bit better. It was a gold one. I was like, oh, I hate this, but it actually did sound really cool. And because they're so stupid expensive, I can't really like, you know, it's like you could get that one or you can get a million other ones that are so much less money that it's not even funny. And even the, I think there was a pedal called a creme brulee or something that was a really inexpensive one. That sounded good to me. They all sounded really close, like everyone I've tried. The Rocket Archer with the Jeff Beck mods, which Jeff used, that one was on my board for years and years and years and years and years. It sounded really great. That's a terrific sounding one. But to be fair, I got the Unobtainium from Crazy Tube Circuits, which has another side to it, kind of a low gain sort of dumbly sort of grind side. And I liked that side of the pedal too. And I thought, I wonder if I can just put this on my board and then I can kind of kill two birds with one stone with this double pedal. And I haven't missed using, I mean, the Rocket is fantastic, but it's the Klon side of the Unobtainium does basically the same thing. It sounds great. So I'm using that on my board now. I have another one here that I'm supposed to do a video for. So this guy's been waiting forever. He's in Korea. It's called the Centauru. Let's take a look. We'll give him a little love here on the show because these have been with me forever, and I just run out of time to do things, and I haven't done it. And I have a thing about like doing like how different are they? You know what I mean, from an original. But anyway, his whole thing is that they're super handmade, super. Here it is. Look at it. It looks exactly like a Klon, right? So it's got a certificate and stuff, but I'm sure it sounds amazing. Let's see, Centauro Gold Series Edition, distinct HHM distinctive pedal works. It's got a number. It's number 35. Yeah, I've had it. It was done a year ago, so. Hand selected for proper sound quality, more warmth, natural tube saturation, extended dynamics, and harmonics and stuff like that. Oh, it says it's equipped with NOS 1976 resistors, capacitors, and original germanium diodes. So it's got NOS parts in it. That's interesting. It's not making it with modern parts. I'm going to make a video for this. What I would really love to do is get my hands on a good original. John's got one. Maybe he'll lend me his. So I have another one here from the same fellow. This is a silver one, I believe. Yeah. They're beautiful looking. I think they're made in Korea. Fellow's in Korea. He's obviously very serious about what he's doing. So let's give those a try, and we'll see. I should do what the YouTube video is that would, be the banger, is like get a couple originals and then do the shootout with all those and some other ones that I have here, because it's not like I don't have 7 or 8 like other, and we could listen to them all and really compare. So anyways, is the common practice to run high gain pedals into lower gain? I wouldn't say that. I'd say the common practice is to run overdrives into hard clip distortions or amp style pedals. To me, a more amp or MOSFET, or be it, whatever, like a Marshall Plexi, which to me is more of a hard clipped distortion sound, and then running a drive into that, like a overdrive, Tube Screamer, SD1, Klon, those pedals, which aren't especially high gain or anything, and they're kind of like a soft clipped overdrive. So running that in front of the more ampy gain pedal. So overdrives into ampy gain style pedals. I think that's the thing. if so, it's like the style of pedal. Even if you're running at low gain, like if you're running a Plexi style pedal and it's just breaking up, like, you know, classic rock or even lower sort of style gain, it's still a hard clipped sound to me, right? What do you guys think? I don't think of Marshall style pedals as overdrives. I think of them as distortions, you know, or amps, any kind of amp style grindy pedal. I think of those as more like a full distortion than I do like a soft clip overdrive. That's what amps sound more like, big brawny distortion to me, you know? So, yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. This guy's just kind of trolling a little bit. Look at him. Tell John to stop copying Yamaha designs. You're just a little like trying to. You're sitting there. What can I say? What can I say that'll just kind of. What a way to spend a Sunday. Fuck off. All right. I prefer less and less distortion as I age. I guess I like a Boss overdrive into a good Marshall type amp for a good start. Yeah, I like less and less distortion as I age too, to be honest. I mean, maybe not less, but I like a certain kind of distortion, you know. And I don't know, dude. I also actually like really heavily distorted sounds, come to think of it. I mean, I can really appreciate different types of distortion sounds, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, you know, like be it like there's a certain type of distortion sound that I guess I'm sort of tired of, which is like if it's too high gain, too many gain stages, all cascaded kind of distortion sound, like 12AX7s cascading into one another. That distortion sound I'm sort of tired of. I started to realize that I love a certain amount of that, but at some point it just becomes like, I don't know, it's just not my thing. It seems to sort of square wave everything and just kind of like you lose the you know, I don't know. Oh, look at this guy. Same lame pickguard design. All right, I'm going to address this. The pickguard is my idea. And the pickguard has nothing to do with a Yamaha Pacifica. On the Yamaha Pacifica, sure, it has a humbucker ring and the thing goes around it, but it goes around it in a different way. And their pickguard doesn't have any of the controls on it. So how is it the same? My guitar transitions all the way down into the bottom and goes around. It has the volume and the tone and the switch and everything on the guard. And here was my original idea. I don't know why I'm addressing you, you silly little troll. But my idea was originally to actually cut it right here and have this part of the guard down here be silver or be, you know, chrome. And then it would be like a jazz bass. So it's actually jazz bass derived. That's what was my influence. It was like, what if I've always loved the look of a jazz bass and how the pick guard is on it, right? And what if we did this? Well, we decided at some point that was going to be too costly. But I was like, well, let's just try it on the whole guard then. And John spent a lot of time drawing this guard in CAD. And anybody that thinks it's ugly is a moron because it looks fantastic. Look at that guitar. Sexy as hell. Just because you don't like it. Go piss on someone else's live stream. All right. Miserable Turd. Thank you for the super chat. How to use your guitar playing to get all the chicks. I don't know, man. I think that day might have sailed, you know. I guess maybe if you're in a country band. I feel like, yeah, chicks are just into tech nerds now. No, I don't know. All you can do is your best. You know what girls like? Authenticity. Let's see. Is the Wilkinson hardware made in Germany or the Far East? I think it's Asia. He might source from different people, but I think he's got somebody in somewhere in Asia that does the bridges, does the metal. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think that's at least the one on my guitar. I believe that's where they come from. Let's see. Atomic Punk says, the less hair I end up with, the more envious I am of your hair. Hey, I can't believe that it didn't get up and leave already. So I don't know what's up with that. I got very lucky. Let's see. If you had to go to just one guitar shop in Tokyo, which one would you choose? Okay. Vintage or new stuff? If you want new stuff, the thing is you could hit like, if you're going to go to a new store, I mean, I really, really like the Key-Bay stores. And a Key-Bay has right within a very, very close proximity to one another is Guitar Station, which is their high-end store, and the standard Key-Bay store, which also has a bunch of high-end stuff in it and is really cool, but also all kinds of stuff. And it's a multi-floor kind of affair. And it's also got their amp store in there and stuff. And it's just a really, really great music store. Like if you're looking to just visit a store and maybe if you want to get it like a, something made in Japan by Fender or something, and you don't have a lot of time, you could go there and probably find a killer guitar in a short period of time, or just check it out, So Ikebe, Ikebe is how that's spelled. Yeah, like literally on one side of the freeway is the Ikebe sort of main store, and then just you cross over the freeway there in Shibuya, and you go to the other side, and there's the Guitar Station, which is their high-end shop. So that's great, and you could do all of that in an hour or half an hour. See it all. There's also the Ishibashi store in Shibuya, which is really, really nice. It's huge and has a massive selection of stuff. For Japan, it's a big store, that's for sure. If you want to go vintage, it's a hard pick for me to pick between Guitar Traders and Hyper Guitars, but those are my two favorites that I've been to in Tokyo. There's other shops too that are really cool that I've been to, but if you visited either, you'd probably be like, whoa, that's really cool. Like, yeah, I put up Guitar Traders on my, I put up a video in that 60 Les Paul I played a little while ago, the Burst, that was in Hyper. Just a video in their amp room. They have some amazing guitars in there. It's a little more off the beaten path though, Hyper. I mean, it's not really. It's close to Shinjuku and stuff. You can get there relatively quickly on the train and everything. There's a train JR rail that stops like right beside it. For whatever reason in Tokyo, I still have a harder time taking the railway than I do taking the underground, the subway, metro. I find it very, very easy to get around on the metro, and the trains, I always get screwed up and take the wrong one. And that's after having spent, over a year there. So it's just not as close to a metro stop, although there is one that's a 10-minute walk from there. The train stops right beside the store. So if I could just figure out how to get on the damn train, the right one, without ending up going the wrong way. I've always found that difficult. I don't know why. Anyways, okay, what else we got here? Let's see. Here's the thing about the, I got to go down to the bottom of the chat, I think, because I'm super far behind, but because this was the Harley Benton thing. They have one that looks similar to yours, but in sound, it doesn't feel even close. Sound and feel. Yeah, they're not. That's the thing, is they copied the look, but they don't have the same woods or the same hardware or the same pickups or the same anything, So, yeah, it's not the same thing. You can copy a look, though. Pretty easy. Yeah. All right. What else are we talking about? How close is the color matching between your two guitars in Ocean Turquoise? Well, it's the same paint, so it's going to be exactly the same color. Yeah. That said, when you buy paint from companies, sometimes it changes over time. It's kind of interesting. Like, they're sourcing the paint from somewhere. And I've noticed over time, like you might get, even with SIRS, and there's not a lot you can do about that, but it's like, you buy for instance, a black cherry. I've got one from 2008 or so, or 9, that is black cherry. And then I saw one that Shanks had done by them, and it looks a little different. Just the color of the black cherry is it's not the same, a little bit. I've also seen that with the Cadillac green. I think it looks a little different on other, just changes a little, occasionally. So is what it is. Yeah. What's your thought on using SMT versus through-hole point-to-point construction in amps and pedals? Surface mount technology, you mean, like circuit boards? Is that what that SMT means? I think most of the great amp builders that I know these days will all tell you that the way that if it's a properly implemented board, if it's done right and it's the right kind of board, it's going to be better than point-to-point or through-hole. There's more problems with point-to-point. There's more chance for human error. They have less problems. There's more consistency and less issues with modern circuit board amps, and there's no difference in sound or anything like that. And that's like Friedman and Sir. They both tell you the same thing, I think, that there's no reason to do it the other way, and these are guys that have built hundreds and hundreds or thousands of amplifiers and listened very carefully and care mostly about the sound, So I trust them when it comes to that, I default to what they say, and they say that the proper circuit boards are, there's actually no problems with those. So thoughts on early 70s Marshall 50-watt heads. So for instance, just to sort of segue that, the early Marshall circuit boards, maybe some of the amps got a bad rap back in the day, because actually the early Marshall circuit boards were pretty like Dave had said to me, I hate working on these. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because they fall apart, like basically when you're like, however the early boards were done, they weren't great. So when Marshall went to circuit boards in 73, 74, if anybody's got in there and done some mods, and then you want to do a different mod, and then you want to like maybe put it back to stock and all that on those amps, that's when it becomes a bit of a nightmare. Like when you're soldering and desoldering things off those early boards, and they can become a problem, where it's like you just want to replace the board eventually. But that's not the case for modern stuff. So anyways, with that said, thoughts on early 70s Marshall 50s. That's one right there. That's a 72, still a point-to-point or tag board or whatever the hell they're called. I've used 100 watts mainly, never played a 50. They're just a little less volume, it's like 3 dB less volume, and they're a little more compressed feeling. That's how I describe it. 100's a little more bold, just a little bigger. 50's a little more compressed, but it's not even a bad thing. It's like kind of a cool feel, And I personally like them both. I mean, I like, it's a good 100 or a good 50 if they're well maintained, the tubes are good, and they're, filter caps are good and stuff like that. I appreciate both of them, but that's the difference. A little more bold, a little more compressed, and slightly quieter, but interchangeable almost, with, maybe if you want like the loudest, cleanest headroom thing, you want to run it lower gain, and you might appreciate 100, in that case. Some people that just appreciate 100 for the, even if they're not cranking it way up and using they appreciate like the seemingly more, I don't know, maybe it's like a power supply thing, or there's just more in reserve, but more headroom and more, just a bigger, bolder sound. Yeah. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. Really enjoying the new batch of classic rock show videos from Cambridge show in May. The music, vocals, video work. Thanks. You and James together are terrific. I really like James. He's a great cat. It's everybody in that band is really nice people, and we've all become friends. I actually miss them when I'm not around them for a while, and I look forward to doing it. It's become a really good vibe. It's one of the nicer tours I've ever done, actually, when it comes to just the people and the good vibes and stuff like that. And that counts for a lot, because you're going to spend a lot of time with people on a close quarters, but we had a lot of fun together, and I appreciate them all. And it's a nice team of people with no egos and attitudes and stuff like that, really. It's a good vibe. There's a lot of razzing that goes on, and just taking the piss and that kind of thing, and everybody's good natured about it, and it's a lot of fun. So I guess that comes across on stage maybe as a good vibe. Like, it's generally a group of people that really have fun together playing music, and we're just celebrating songs we like at the end of the day. That's all it is, and that makes for a good night of music, I think. So yeah. Please recommend a pickup for the diver down tone. That's interesting because that is sort of largely seen as maybe Eddie's what they call the broken sound. It's hard to say what he had going on at that point, but if the videos from the live gigs around that point, 82, 83, are any indication, his guitar seemed to have a broken pickup. You can see the videos from, I think there's some from Fargo, North Dakota or something like that, or there's some from Brazil where you can hear his sound. And it sounds very, very clean. Who knows what amp he was using? Maybe he was using a different Marshall or something in Brazil, but you can watch some of these videos where it sounds like he's playing a Strat almost, you know. You see them on YouTube, anything from 82, 83 live. It can be, and he's ripping too, but with like really low gain. It's kind of funny. So it's hard to say, you know, what would be the right pickup to sort of simulate that, you know. It kind of almost like you might want to try and get like a JB and tap it or something and see what that sounds like, you know. Half a coil, you know, because I think that's what people say. I mean, there's like a shorted coil. One of his guitars had a shorted coil that they pulled the pickup out of to when they were making the pickups for the Music Man. DiMarzio swears they pulled a JB out of a guitar that had a shorted coil as one of his main, like the 5150 guitar or something. So that's a different guitar than the one he was playing though back then, but that pickup sounds like a shorted coil to me. But watch the videos, you know, from 82, 83 and listen to what I'm talking about. It sounds like that. And then listen to the album. By 84, he definitely had, to me by then, he had a full, like when you listen to the sounds of his guitar, you know, the 5150 guitar, then whatever was in it, when it was brand new, basically. It sounds like a proper pickup to me, you know. And maybe like a 59 or something. So I don't know. It all gets a little bit lost in the, what should I say, lost in the mix around the time the harmonizer starts getting used a lot, because to me, you put the H3000 on things and then it starts getting a little washed out. And Beato and Nuno were talking about that in the Nuno interview as well, how once you add the harmonizer, it loses some of the attack and you starts to sound like just a distorted rock guitar sound with some effects. You know, you don't have the same, like, I don't think it matters as much, almost like the pickup and could be a JB, could be a 59, could be it's a distorted amp with harmonizer. You know, I can't hear the distinction as much as maybe between, say, Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2, or, you know, Van Halen 2 and Fair Warning. So yeah. Anyways, it's a tough one. I would say try a JB or a 59, then maybe try tapping it or try it in parallel as well. You know, try some of those things to see if that gets you closer, you know. Lauren's asking how high my typical action is at the 12th fret. You know, I don't know, to be honest. I've never done the, you know, measuring it with you know, calipers or anything like that, or, you know, whatever it is, or not caliper, whatever, a ruler. I've never measured it, so I don't, I'm an idiot when it comes to some things, but I do know what I like, and I just set it by ear and by feel. And I'll get the bridge, I'll get the neck to be just a little bit of relief, you know, just a hair of relief between the, you know, when I hold it at the 12th fret and the 1st fret on the G string, and I'll just look above the 7th fret or so, and I just want to see almost no relief there. And then if I hold between the last fret and the 1st fret, I want to see a little more relief at the 12th fret. That's when I know the neck's where I like it. And then I move the bridge until I can basically get it as low as I can on the bass side and on the treble side, which generally means it's slanted a little bit further up on the bass side, and where maybe there's a little bit of fret buzz if I play hard. But if I play lightly, I can have no fret buzz. That's right where I put it. And it's like, I'll get it as low as I can and in that range. But if I notice the high E's choking at all as I'm just kind of playing up the neck or playing normal stuff, but it sounds like you can hear that choking sound on the B string and the E string, it's got to come up a little bit then on the treble side. And then of course I got to check bending too, make sure I can bend a whole step, if not a minor third, and make sure there's no fretting out, you know. So that's how I do it. Totally by feel and not by, every guitar is different. Yeah. Let's see. Dakota is mentioning that just recorded a few songs with your band, Atypical B24 Studios in Kansas City, one of which we released a few weeks ago. I'd love to hear it posted on, is it on YouTube or something? How would we hear it? Put a little link or something in the chat. Yeah. Okay, what else we got here? Moving down through the chat. The difference between 720 and 1080 is minimal, says T-Mits. Yeah, and you have to pay for it on StreamYard, you know? So, wow, I'm far back in the chat, though. We were talking about this ages ago, so I better move down. But there's some good comments here. I want to see. I don't think higher definition video would make much of a difference in this kind of platform. I don't think so either. Like, who cares, you know? I don't really think it matters, you know? So, yeah. Okay. Buddy G looks like a great little piece of kit. Was a really nice sounding pedal. I do like it quite a bit. It is really nice. Yeah. Has the digital platform caught up or is equal to on-stage amplification? It's really, really good. It's really, 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 really good. It's not quite the same still to me, to be honest. That's just my quick answer. The biggest difference, though, to me is like at least if you have some speakers on stage, that does a lot for the sound. I've been talking about this with different people, like what they like about speakers on stage, or maybe dislike, or you know. And I was talking to a friend that plays with. Jan that plays with Charlie Puth, and he has an Axe Effects, but he still has a 412 on stage. So he's got a fry-up power amp, tube power amp, Axe Effects. I think the IRs are feeding the house, but he's just got some on-stage sound. And he said for him, it was a psychological thing that he didn't like it when he would see fans and people on the. Sometimes you have guests and they'll be watching from the side of the stage, but the only thing happening on stage was drums. You know, acoustic drums. And he was like, for him, psychologically, these people must think I'm not even playing, you know? So for him, it was like almost like I need to have a cabinet there. So there's some on stage sound, you know? And I mentioned, well, what about the hole in the front of the stage where all the PAs are all, it used to be when you go see a show, the PA was not flowing. It was usually stacked on either side of the stage. All you older dudes remember this, you know, great big Martin bins, stacking either side of the stage. Right now the PA is all flowing and it's all hanging super high, and so you get this, to me, like what are supposed to be the best seats in the house, your front row center, second row, third row, fourth row, and the PA is all out here, oops, kind of above your head and off to the side, and occasionally there's front fills, but they're these little PA boxes that they put along the front of the stage, or you know, it's like it's not the same. So it's like, for me, not having any stuff on stage these days is extra weird, because it's like these people are all hearing slapback off the back of the venue, or like some speaker that's way over their head, or maybe this little front fill. So I still love having a guitar amp on stage and the bass amp on stage and a little bit of sound on stage. And it really doesn't have to, for me, be any louder than the snare drum. So wherever the snare's at, if you can just have enough guitar and bass volume on stage, that's what I like. Now, your original question was, is it about modeler, like, you know, digital versus, it's as even if you're using your modeler, I like to have that. So the way that Jan is doing it, actually, like with the even with an Axe Effects and a fry-up power amp and one cabinet, that's cool, I think. And that lends a lot toward, it goes a long way towards, even if you're using modeling, it's closer then to, because that's the biggest change to me, isn't even the digital versus tube thing, it's the no speakers thing, you know. And it's the exact same effect as having a real piano or a real Leslie, you know, and B3 acoustic piano versus a Nord with a great piano sample, or a Nord with a B3 sound. In the PA, it might sound really good and the same, but it's creating a different experience on stage, you know? So even if you're using the digital thing, I like having some sound on stage because it just glues the band together and makes it sound like a band. I don't know. It's like when the whole thing is direct, it's so weird to me. I guess that's what it is. That's the main thing that's weird to me, is the whole thing being DI. And It's weird. Sound guys love it, and they're the only ones that love it. The Friedman said it on his show the other day. No one said ever that it sounded better when you do that. Nobody said ever. You know, it's like, except for people who are like, I can make it sound. No, you can't. I like how passionate he got about it. I totally agree. I think it's weird. You know, whether or not it's technically like the clean, you know, way back there at front of house. Yeah, you're not getting any beam off the cabinet. Sure, it might sound like shit, like 50 feet or 100 feet or, well, not even 50 feet, but, you know, back from the stage where it's like you get a weird beat. A guitar cab doesn't sound good that far away. And if it's kind of loud, it's a bad sound. I agree. But up front and where the band is and the vibe that it's creating up there, it's cool, you know? And even in the first few rows, I like to hear guitar off the side. I like to hear that, you know? It's cool. Even if you use the, I've grown to quite like the Plexi panels that you see Bonamassa use. I used them on the last Classic Rock Show tour, and James had one in front of his amp too. Actually don't mind that at all. And it actually kind of solves the majority of the problems, I think. You still have some sound on stage, but it's not that beam, you know, and it's creating the vibe and helping. So there's ways to make it work and stuff, but I think getting rid of the cabinets altogether, that's been the biggest weird thing about digital versus tube amps. You know, that's the biggest problem I have. Way less of a problem than, like, you know, putting an amp in a quad Cortex and then powering it with a good power amp and maybe through a cabinet on stage. That can sound pretty darn good these days. You know. Tom says the tour videos are great, super interesting. Thanks. Yeah, they did a really nice job filming that show. You know, we had to fly back, Rudy and I, one of the singers, to do the gig in May, and it was about a month after we'd finished the majority of the shows. So then we come back, we're a little jet laggy and stuff, you know, and we went and did the gig, and it was cool. I wish we'd done it still during the body of the tour, but it turned out great, and the mixes are really good that Andrea is doing. I think he's doing the majority of them, one of the sound people that works with us, and they end up sounding just terrific. So you know, they did a really nice job recording the show, and it's cool. You know, it's a great representation of what we're doing. That's for sure. Yeah. Alrighty. What else we got here? What time is it? 1:18. I'm gonna go for another half an hour or something, right? Yeah, at least. Let's see. When recording your albums, did you record the guitars in stereo like some of the demos, or did you just record them in mono? No hard and fast rule. Mostly probably mono, but I mean, some of the sounds are stereo. Like even on my last record, I did actually a fair amount using the aux. That thing. I remember doing quite a few at home. Some even with a Kemper and stuff I was using at home because I was living in an apartment at the time, and I didn't have this room yet. So I was enjoying actually sitting I had this great window in my old place in this apartment where I could sit, and it just was really nice to sit there and work. I mean, I used to make videos in that place, and it was a nice, maybe it didn't make for the best YouTube videos, but I liked sitting there and working. So that's why you saw me do a lot of stuff there. It was just really nice. And so I did a lot of that. Anything I'd done at home was all either reactive load amps, or it was, you know, the aux with amps. And so some of those things, I actually printed the effects. I mean, I remember doing some of the solos and things with, I liked the sound coming out of the aux that I had going with the delay and the reverb. So I just printed it, and that's what's on the record. So no hard and fast rule. Usually I'm printing mono guitars though. You know, the only time it's stereo is it's specific things. If it's coming out of a modeler with full stereo delay or something, and I just really like the sound or something, then I'll print it stereo. Yeah, because there's not really an advantage to, you know, if you're loving the sound, that's the advantage. If you're just printing a guitar and then you can add some effects in the DAW, which is just as easy to do and get a great sound, and actually then you've got all the control in the mix over the reverb and delay level. Once you print it, you're stuck, you know. So I tend to not do that. But if I really love the sound, I'm in the moment playing the solo, you're inspired. It's just like, screw it, let's hit record and just put it down. Sounds great. And generally speaking, I never ran into a situation where I was like, ooh, I printed too much delay. It was always fine. You know, I was always just happy with it. You know, it's good to commit to things sometimes. Just go for it, get it done. When a demo of the new SL, we talked about it, but I've got so much to do, man. Before I go on tour, and I got so many videos to make this month and stuff. So I don't think it'll happen this month. They haven't really, been like, hey, can you get one of these done for us? So I've got other stuff that we're, seems like there's a little bit more urgency that I get it done. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. I'm pretty far back in the chat still, back when I was talking about picking and stuff. Ray says practice in front of a mirror. Yeah, for monitoring your picking or anything else. Yeah, it's good to do. Video yourself and see how you're, does my technique look right? Yeah. I have the UAFX Lions, says DMAC, and the Dream, and I was looking at the Ruby, but the new Boss IR2 has my attention. Boss gives me the AC30 plus more amps, but I like what UAFX does with each amp. Thoughts? Well, you'd have to try. I haven't tried the Boss, so I can't say. I will say the UA amps are really, really good. Like the individual pedals, they did a great job on them. The Lion is really fun for the Van Halen thing, especially in a box. I mean, there it is, sitting right there. I'm looking at it. It just, you heard it in my little video. It's pretty the easiest, one-way ticket to that sound that I've ever tried. Fastest. And the Ruby, terrific too. In the same way, I did a little video playing some Queen back when it came out. And it was so easy to get there, So, it's almost like the thing that excites me more about the way that they did them was with the boost and the effects and all the stuff that, like the Van Halen thing, it really feels like pretty close to the Variac Plexi thing, a little more squishy and all that stuff, the way they implemented it. And, James Santiago, the way he does I knew how to do this cabinet. And then with the Ruby, it's like I had to do the treble booster and all the stuff, he's like, it really did it right for the geeky. It's got to be just like Brian May's thing, or it's got to be just like Eddie Van Halen's thing. They did it right. Only thing I wish they'd done in the Lion was actually the plate reverb for the room sound. That would have been really cool. But there's other ways to get that. Sorry, I meant chamber reverb. I said plate reverb, but I meant the Sunset Sound style chamber. If they'd been able to put that in, that would have been extra cool. But yeah, my niece heard said, how do you not plant a finger on the guitar? This is when I was talking about picking through, arpeggiating through strings, and how some players plant their finger on the pickup ring or on the pick guard. My only point of reference used to be, I tend to do it more now. I mean, but I just, for many years, I would never plant a finger. My hand would be fingers curled underneath and my hand sitting on the edge of the bridge. That was my point of reference. And it still is for most of what I do. But I do see people that plant a finger, and it's just like, to me, it didn't work for like fast picking things or alternate picking. And it's weird to do that. But when arpeggiating, I've tried to get, I actually practice. There's a couple exercises I practice, like picking through chords and with my finger planted or wrapped around the pickup ring or something like that on the guitar. Yeah. 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 All right. Yeah. What else we got? Let's see. Looking through the chat here. Yeah, Nigel Tufnell here today. Exactly. It's the Nigel. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move down a little bit because I'm too far behind. I'm sorry about that. It's like so far back in the chat. So far back. Okay. Here's that little bit of the comments about the pedal orders, overdrive orders. Klon style sounds best last. Pete is definitely right about the order. I use my Tim before my Prince of Tone, but I have to switch these two now and see. Fuzzes into my Rat. Yeah. I don't know about the Klon being last. I could see using it last if you want primarily a volume boost out of it. Because if you run it in front of anything else, you're not going to get that. But I use it in the middle. Kind of. I have my fuzzes first, and then I have the Klon in front of my ampy drives, and that just works for me because Klon into an amp. I mean, I'm thinking about boosting. This is how I roll. But I wouldn't have a distortion on in front of the Klon unless, I guess you could do that if you were running a clean amp. Say you had a Fendery clean channel and then you had your distortion sound, and then you wanted to boost the volume of the distorted sound. Then you could put the Klon drive kind of last and add just a little bit of the drive or whatever, but mainly volume coming out of it. That'd be useful. I could see that. Yeah. Jonathan says I'm a fan of a lot of the similar distortions. You're in good company. Well, I feel I'm in good company with you. Okay. I go to all this trouble to come up with the jokes, and I'm overshadowed by a friggin' troll. Recycled Random, we love you. You've got the floor. Tell a joke, and I'll highlight it, I promise. Okay. What's my favorite cab sim in the UAFX Lion? Well, either the Van Halen cab for the Van Halen thing, or the Greenback cab. Those are the two, you know what I'm saying? Dory says, and kindness. Girls like kindness. That's getting back to how do you get the chicks with your guitar? Be kind. I agree. Be polite. Yeah, I can't do the jerk guy vibe. Okay. Here's a guy with some damage. Girls like liars. My friend, it's time to go to therapy. There is help out there. We want you to be okay. I understand, though. What else we got here? Has Sammy Hagar reached out to you to be a guest for the Van Halen Hagar tour? I haven't heard anything from Sammy. He doesn't need me. He's got Joe Satriani. Yeah. Let's see. Do you ever do radio for a living? You've got the voice. Why, thank you. Welcome to WKRP in Cincinnati. I would love to do that. I've got the radio mic. That's what it is. It's all in the microphone. If I take the microphone away, I sound like this. Okay. What's your Desert Island guitar amp and pedal? Honestly, it'd be, one of my signature amps, 15 or the 100, and my signature guitar, because that's the stuff that I can actually get most of my work done with. I mean, they're designed to be like the tools that if I can only have one amp and one guitar, these are going to be what I use. That's literally kind of the design philosophy, so. EVH's first interview says Jose modified his MXR pedals. Maybe. I mean, he could have done some kind of like, a buffer or something, something simple to, for long cable runs and stuff like that. Maybe he's like, my sound's too dark. I don't know. I'm just, when I play, I lose something when I plug in, what if I go low impedance? I don't know. I could see that happening, but I don't know anything about that. If that was actually the case or not. Yeah. All right. What else we got here? In Japan, if the trains are 5 minutes late, they have to apologize to the customers. I think it's even more like 2 minutes late, generally speaking. They're very serious about the trains being on time. They are literally like, if it says it's pulling into the station at 3:57 p.m., at 3:56 and 49 seconds, you can see the lights of the train coming down the tunnel. Literally. It's like that. And so when one's not there on time, it's a big deal, and they always apologize. And it's Japan is a better place in many ways. It runs like very smooth. Yeah. That's why it's so especially shocking when you see things like what do you do? It's a crazy natural disaster, but Fukushima or that kind of thing, and there's the problems, because I'm not kidding. They have got the craziest stringent like controls of any country in the world when it comes to, safety, and they take that stuff extremely seriously. So when you see a problem there, it's rare, and kind of shocking. I tend to believe that, like, yeah, it's not a place where they take a lot of risks or with anything. It's like it's a big deal. So Anyways, what else we got here? Okay. I'm late to the party. Tried to locate the connection or I could not find it. Oh, sorry about that. It could be my fault. So, I'm still a little foggy whether or not I set the stream to the right time or not, or whether it's at 11:45 p.m. Pacific. But anyways, I'll be more careful. My one for next week with Kim Thale as a guest is already up. There's a watch page for that up, so please bookmark that and show up at 2 p.m. next week. Kim's request, he wanted to do it at 2 p.m. So, yeah. Jason Becker is auctioning off the guitar was given to him by Eddie Van Halen. That's interesting. Jason, God bless him. He's had a long struggle, and I'm sure it's probably one of those things where he could use some help. So I understand that move for sure. Are you or did you review the Greenie Epiphone Les Paul? I've never done anything for them, actually, any kind of like guitar. I kind of avoid guitar reviews a lot because, of course, I have a signature guitar. And so I don't really delve into electric guitar reviews so much. I occasionally play other things, obviously, because I need to for certain purposes or whatever, things that my guitar just doesn't do, right? A 335, for example, or, true single coil on the bridge, that kind of thing. Mostly, though, if you see me with a bolt-on 25.5 scale guitar, it's a Sir, anyways. So, all right. What was on Pete's Spotify Wrapped? Man, I don't use Spotify. I was talking about this with somebody this week. Like, I have a Spotify. I don't listen to music on it. My music is on Spotify, but I sort of feel like everybody puts up their Spotify Wrapped. My take on it is like Weird Al's thing. Wow, I had however many 80 billion streams of my song, and I got $12. So thanks, I was able to buy a sandwich. That's kind of my take on Spotify. Like, they just sort of screwed over everybody, and we're able to do it, and everybody just accepted it. And like now we're like, here's my Spotify Wrapped, and it's like, isn't this great? We're all going to celebrate, that we're all using this, awful thing, really. I'm not a fan. So I use Apple Music because I was just always in iTunes, from the beginning. I mean, for 20 years I've used it, or whatever, however long it's been around from the beginning. And so I just stuck with that, and that's what I do for streaming. And I don't particularly enjoy any of that stuff. I was talking with Dave Friedman about his son, who's recently become really into music. He was right at that age where he's just getting super into it, and he's really into vinyl. And they go to the record store and buy records a lot, and he loves it. He loves I think he's 12. And he's just super into bands now and really into, he likes heavy stuff. He likes Deftones and it's cool because Dave's like, oh, this is great. Like, I can, and Dave, of course, does work for all these bands and stuff. So it's just like a neat time, I think, for the two of them where, as he's becoming a music fan and stuff, and cool having a dad that's kind of in it and stuff. But anyways, my point being, he's just really into vinyl and stuff. And I think that's awesome that a 12-year-old can be like, he listens on Spotify, but then he uses the kind of like, you might like the suggestions or whatever. If you like this, you might like this. And then it leads him to other bands. And then he goes and gets the records and stuff. And I think that's awesome. That's really cool. Because I miss those days. I miss the physical. And it's a great thing about Japan, too, because they're still really into physical things. But we like look at me, I like collecting things. It's like we like physical things, and if it's just music that's in the air, then it's not. So I don't know. If it's just digital, it's not as I like having that thing to hold on to and look at, and the whole experience of playing records and stuff is fun. So yeah, I never know how to say this. So I saw the pronunciation the other day, but Lyricst is launching with a limited run, a point-to-point head. Should be a collector's run on these. Get one if you can, then lend it to Pete so I can get him on to chat about it. I'd love to talk to Alex someday about his amps and other stuff. Yeah. Do you have any tips for recalibrating after feeling burnt out musically in the industry? That's a great question. Um, Try and identify what it is that's burnt you out, maybe, and try and get back to what it is that you like. Like, for instance, like I was saying, like even listening to records, like, oh yeah, this is fun. Like, getting a turntable and going to an indie record store and buying some vinyl and like listening to music that way. That's like one, like switch it up, and try and get away from, the things that bum you out. That's the only thing I can say. For me, I still am inspired to sit there and write, and it's still the same to me if I pull up a template in Logic and I get an idea going, a guitar sound. I get inspired by the sound, and then it's just the rest of it just melts away. Like Instagram and YouTube and whatever. I don't really care. I always say the trick with my YouTube is that I'm trying to forget that I'm making a YouTube video. I'm just trying to write a song and come up with the best parts and then lay down some good performances, just like if I was doing anything. So the closer you can get to that, whatever it takes to get to that, like the purity of like what you like about music, and if you're just feeling burnt out musically, sometimes trying a different thing, like for instance, like, getting a classical guitar and like learning some classical guitar pieces or something, with like get a beginner book and learn a few, like it's like, oh, this is like totally different little discipline and it's fun. It can be fun to sit there and work on other things, different than what you've done, or uh, maybe learn slide or something. Learn slide guitar. Put it in open G or open E, and then just listen to some slide stuff and sit there and like tackle that for like 3 weeks. Don't even pick up a guitar in standard tuning, and just like see if you can get some of that going. I don't know, just mixing it up, can help as well to get you out of ruts, I think, if you're doing the same thing over and over again. There's a super chat there I should grab. 3 months without any pots. I'm still flipping over it. Yeah, somebody's asking about guitar pots here. You know what? Let me ask. Let's see if John responds. Sometimes he doesn't hit me back on a Sunday, but we'll see here. And sometimes, for some reason, when I put his name in, it doesn't come up on my. Just one sec here. Sorry. There he is. Okay. What is the brand of pots that we like these days? Not pot, but pots. Do you like the Fractal? Long story short, sure. I mean, they make great stuff, Long story short. I have feels about that I've, talked about at length with all the modelers, and the pluses and minuses, or things that some people might like and things that other people might not. I think with Fractal, I think they do a great job getting super deep. Every little parameter is in there for you to modify and stuff. So if you're a tweaker, it's all in there. And like literally modifying the amp circuits basically within the models. And my experience with, once you learn how to use their devices, you can get pretty deep into creating a guitar sound and spend a lot of time on it. But the more time you spend, the sound gets better and better. I've found rabbit holes where I spend a bunch of time and it seems to get worse, or I just get burned out. That doesn't really happen with the Fractal. The more time I put into it, the better and better it seems to get. And it's like, wow, you can really get deep into this rabbit hole. The obvious flip side to that is that it can be a bit of a time suck, but I think it's well implemented, and it's just the way they do things, And so if you're looking at getting into a Fractal, just sort of know that it's a very deep device. There's a lot of choices. There's a lot of options. You can lose yourself a little bit in that, but if you can keep your head about you, it can be a very satisfying device and a very rewarding. I think they do a good job. So there's a reason why they are where they are. Yep. Do you use an attenuator with your Marshall? Not an attenuator. I use a lot of load boxes. I do have an attenuator. I've got a Phantom there which is great. If I was going to use an attenuator, it'd be this one, the Faustine Phantom, that doesn't exist anymore. They were made for a period of time. It's a really well-made device, a great attenuator. But I tend to use, instead of attenuators, I use load reamp boxes. So the Fryette Power Station, which technically loads the amp all the way down to line level and then reamps it with its own power amp. So it's a different thing than an attenuator. You end up at the same place, a quieter guitar signal, where it can be all anywhere from line level all the way to, reamped back up, or even maybe louder than the original amp was. So I just think that there's something about a passive attenuation device that takes juice off the amp and then still passes some signal through the speaker. That's one way to go, where the load takes all the juice off the amp, loads it down, and then you reamp with another power amp, and that power amp then has its own relationship with the speaker, that's separate from the load and what happened back there. That way seems to be more transparent to me than the device that takes some of the juice off the speaker and then passively sends some through to the speaker, and you attempt to retain the original amp sound and feel. Never seems to work quite as well, although there's some great ones out there. The Iron Man is also really good. A lot of people like the Rivera, the Rock Crusher. I had pretty good success with it too. There's a different ways to go. How was your time in Newfoundland? Really fun. Everybody's super sweet. Kind of as you would imagine. It's like a really unique place. If you've been there, it's a fascinating place. There's lots of great food there. There's folks that have accents that are like, why has this person got such a different accent than that person? But they both grew up here, which was really interesting to me. It was described as, by somebody that had lived there their whole life. Originally, Newfoundland, of course, big rock out halfway out in the Atlantic Ocean almost. And that was the first place that a lot of people would land when they were coming from Europe over to pillage and plunder. And so they would land, and then they would stake their claim to Newfoundland or whatever. This is ours now. And then they would hang out. And then eventually, 100 years later, a group of other folks would show up and fight them. And maybe they'd beat them up and they'd win the war or fight or whatever it was. And they'd be like, this is ours now. And then the other people would be like, damn it. And then they wouldn't leave. They'd just move around to another corner of the island. I love that description. I love the idea of 400 people going, God damn it. And they got to get up and they got to relocate around the corner, because these other ones showed up. So, and that happened over and over and over and over again. So you got this crazy mix of people all over that island. And then, of course, they all kind of ended up commingling and stuff like that. And so that makes for some really interesting accents and, just kind of crazy shared history over the last however many hundreds of years. So there was folks there that I met that sound full on Irish, but they have never been to Ireland, or, at least grew up in Newfoundland, and that was there. So it was interesting, really interesting. It's beautiful. A lot of little trees. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. The trees are all really small. I was like, why is that? And I don't know, the Atlantic and harsh weather, and so a lot of these kind of tiny pine trees. A lot of lakes, bodies of water all over the place. You could just tell kind of a rough place, just the weather and it's really interesting. It was a great. I really enjoyed it. Of course, the people are lovely. They're super kind, and it's a unique place, to visit if you ever get the chance. Okay. What else we got here? Let's see. I should split soon because I got work to do today now. I just found out. I think it was Joe that helped me out. Thanks for all you do. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the super chat. Thanks for being here, man. Thank you. Let's see. Which pedal would you choose if you had to have only one? I always say the tuner. Can't do without that. My Polytune. Yeah. I really like the Axe effects, but I have a hard time believing the SLO modeler sounds as good as an actual SLO. Yeah, it's Ian says modeling can be more consistent. Both those things are probably true, Pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages. Ryan says modelers are great, but I don't think they should be replacing tube amps altogether, and they won't. I think tube amps are around for a while, man. I mean, there's still a demand. So, like right there, you're the demand, And so, as long as there's folks that feel that way, they're going to be around, I think. So, Plexi panel to tame a Plexi. Who knew? Yeah, Plexi in front of Plexi. That's how it works. Burke himself says, any ideas what the IR loader is with the least latency? Possible mix a cab and also send an IR to the board. It can be done. It's a little difficult though, because you're always going to get a little comb filtery kind of stuff, because the mic's going to get there a little faster than if you have an analog cab sim and a mic, the analog cab sim tends to get there quicker than the mic, because there's a little delay, with like a very minuscule delay with the mic, but the analog DI is always a little quicker, just like DI bass or mic to bass. And then you got to flip the phase or try and time align them. Now with the IRs, you're always going to have a millisecond at least, or maybe 1.2 milliseconds or 1.8 milliseconds of latency or whatever. And then that's going to get there a little later than the microphone. So it's an interesting thing, A way to test it is you take like a screwdriver. This is a very sort of rough and ready way to test, but if you're recording and you want to test this stuff, just tap the strings with a muted bunk, a little percussive sound, and you can see the spike in Pro Tools or Logic or whatever you're recording in. And if you've got a DI sound and a mic sound, you can look at them and actually see where the one is a little later than the other one. It's really interesting. And then you can try and delay using sample delay, so that the tracks come right into, but to me, it's always like when you're trying to combine what you're saying, mix a cab and IR, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because I never feel like it's right there. I always feel like it's a little phasey, no matter what. Even if it's possible I could just be not good at doing that sort of thing. There's sound people I know that do it, but I'm always like, let's just use one or the other, and then we don't have any phasing. It's not an issue, So that's my answer there. Yeah. This is an interesting take too. Trying to decide about modelers, it also seems like somehow it costs even more. Now it's modeler, amp, cabinet, buying a fry-out on top of an FM9. Yeah, it ends up being, the majority of people that use them probably don't do what I say, which is use a cabinet. The majority of people probably just go direct. But then you're like, no feedback. Ooh, it doesn't sound and feel the same. I'm using in-ears. It's a different experience. So yeah, if you do get into using the cab thing and stuff, it ends up being like, well, now I got a rig again. So the conundrum. And there's times where I'm just like, just use an amp, it's like, at this point, what are you doing? I don't know. So, what power supply do you use on your pedal board for Eventide H90? I use the Friedman. I think there's a couple of outputs tied together to do it, possibly. There's ways to do that. I use the Kiox on my desk to do things that, is that how you say it? Kiox is the Eventide supply that's made by them. It's really great. But either that or the Friedmans I've had good luck with. I used to use G-Lab as well. I always had yeah, I was good luck with those too. Ray Colby says, I told my buddy Mike Stone of Queensryche years ago, where's the cabs? Where's the Marshalls? After 10 years of digital, no cabs, the Marshalls are back. That's cool. Yeah, man, it's part of it. It is. It's a different experience without it. I'm sorry, it just doesn't sound the same, Something about the stage volume and a little bleed, and it kind of, it's maybe technically shittier or whatever, but it kind of glues a band together in a way that's just, and it feels better to the guitar player. I don't know. That's the problem I have, is like, I want to feel the thump of the damn cabinet, and I like the feedback and stuff, and all that just makes me play differently. Okay. Yes, a real amp is needed. Anything you love, but has to put out 95 dB. More is not needed, but less than a drummer might wipe you out. Yeah, it's got to be right where the snare drum is to me. So if the band balances around the drummer, and it can sound like, oh, I can hear everybody. I can hear the drums, the bass, the guitar. Great. Now let's amplify that with a PA. That's what's perfect to me. Not any louder. It doesn't have to be any louder than that. I don't even like playing really loud on stage. I have enough of like tinnitus or whatever it's called and all that where I don't like to, aggravate my hearing. But I do like it to be, I like to get away from the drummer. I don't like to be right beside them these days, and and then I like to have my amp behind me and kind of balancing at the same level as when that drummer is, 18 feet away from me. And that's about perfect. Little super chat. How could you use the UA Lion and UA Dream pedal together so you can have a clean and dirty amp with pedals in front and one stereo direct out? I was wondering that, and I don't know enough about them to know, but there might be a way to, I think there is a way, but I might be wrong, to like kind of link them so that one's on and when the other one comes on, the other one's off. I'm not sure about that. If there isn't, you would just have to foot switch them, turn on one when the other one's on. I'm not really sure, but it would seem like the kind of I dropped my phone. Seem like the kind of thing there's a provision for. Here's one right here. I don't know that, if there's like, oh no, that's like a Bluetooth thing. Does anybody know that out there? If you use two of the UAs, is there a way to kind of use them together like a 2-amp rig? I'm just not sure, to be honest. You could do it using a switcher if it's not. You could get a simple switcher that does MIDI, RJM or whatever, and just put them in loops on the switcher, and then that would probably be a great way to do it, actually. Because if you got other things you want to switch, you probably have other things you want to switch on a pedal board, right? Like, if you had an HX effects or something, and then you put them on a board with the two, and you could use the loops in the HX. That'd be cool. Then you could run effects in front of the Lion and the Dream or the Ruby and the Dream or whatever. Just switch them using the HX in and out with a couple sounds. And then you'd also be able to actually use models. Oh, no, the HX doesn't have models. But anyway, you know what I mean? That'd be cool. It's got two loops, right? HX effects. You put the two pedals in the loops and then use the effects in the HX. That'd be a neat little rig. Have you seen Nuno's current guitar rig up close? I know he still uses Marshall Procore Rad as a filter and a Boss GT8. Yeah, he uses that old Boss, doesn't he? It's cool. It's, I remember that was always his thing. I was like, it was very sort of like pedestrian gear. Great guitar player, gets cool sounds, So I like that he used that stuff, Like, it's not about the gear, is it really, as much as it is the player and what you do with it always. So it's a good example. Is the GT8 in the loop or out front? Probably in the loop, I would think, if he's... But I'm not 100% sure. Sorry. I'm not 100% sure about that, of how he uses it. I remember one album he did. It was the album after the Porno Graffiti album. The next one they did, I think he used a vibroverb and just cranked the snot out of it. A brown-faced 90s vibroverb Fender, And isn't that weird? But that's what he did, evidently. Kind of interesting. Okay. What else we got here? Looking for a super heavy amp, JJ100, probably a great idea. Yeah, that or the Butter Slacks. As far as Friedman's go, would be really good. I would think so. Yeah. Okay. It's 1:54. I haven't gone quite 2 hours. I'll go another 10 minutes here, and then I'm going to split. Surfan says 417 online, only 276 likes. Slam that like button. Please do that before you leave. It helps spread the video far and wide. Thanks if you are enjoying the show. If you do that for me, I appreciate it. 777 Danny with the super chat. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to move down to the bottom of the chat. Oh, there's a super chat I've missed there. So let's get that. Now, Wet Dry Wet, EVH with tube amp switching. Helix Floor versus FM9. Is 350 worth it? Let me think about that. EVH. Wet Dry Wet, EVH with the tube amp switching. Helix Bush's FM9 is 350 worth it. Helix Limited, cheapest, best FRFR. I don't quite get it. Wet, dry, wet. I'll let EVH with tube amp switching. Okay, so you're going to switch the channels on the amp. I burped. Sorry. Helix Floor versus FM9. How are you going to do the wet, dry, wet? I like the Helix. So, you know, and the FM9 is cool too. It's three. I mean, if you have tried the Helix, I think it's really good. If you're like trying to save money, I think you're fine saving the money. But how are you implementing the wet, dry, wet? That's just I don't understand how you're loading down the amp. You need a load if you're going to use the amp, and then you want to go FR. Or maybe you're just talking about using the tube amp with 3 cabinets, and this is 2 different questions. Cheapest and best FR. The best FR I've tried, full range, flat response, is the Atomic CLR. It's not like I've got the most knowledge in this area, though, because I haven't gotten that into that world. But I'd love the Atomic CLR. It sounded perfect to me. I've tried some other ones like the Head Rush and stuff, and I've heard the Friedmans and different ones. But the Atomic, to me, sounded like a flat studio monitor with a great big wide sweet spot because of the coaxial high-end driver in it. You could stand way off to the side of it. It sounded exactly the same. I was like actually quite impressed with it. And it has a nice feature for the inputs that allow you to kind of blend the signal coming out of your model or whatever, and then also have a mix coming from the desk. So you can use it like a full range monitor, but you've got independent control over the volume of just your guitar signal as well as the signal coming from the desk. That was really cool, I thought, the way that they implemented that. So that's the one I really liked. So I guess my answer is you're probably fine with the Helix, but FM9 is really nice too. If you want to save the money, go Helix. And cheapest, best FR. I don't know about cheap, but best is the Atomic. This is a nice idea. Travis says, how about Guitar Nerd box set with both albums? Love that idea, actually. It's a really nice idea, but I think I would wait until I come out with a new release of some sort and then maybe do that. Or what about vinyl? Let's put them all out. Let's put them all out on vinyl with a new release. It's a great idea, though. Let me think on that. Yep. Okay. CBS Sunday Morning interviewed Geddy and Alex. I saw that. The question was asked if they will play again live. They left the door open. You know, I think it sounded like it could probably happen to me. Who would be a good fit for them? Man. You know, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it's a tough one. Neil is it's like asking like who could be EVH in a Van Halen thing. It's such a tough one to me. Neil is just such a big part of the sound, but I don't know about Simon has his own thing, and I don't know if it's Neil, you know. Oh man. I really don't know, you know. I'd have to think about it. What do you guys think? I don't know. I mean, like, he was just such a unique drummer. It's a tough one. Let me see if John got back to me about the pots. He didn't. So it'll have to be a question for later. But ask me next week again. I know pots is a tough one these days. I have had good luck with the Burns, generally speaking. So you could try those. The ones that they use in the EVH pots or the Dunlop Super Pots, have better luck with those than CTS. But it's not what's in my guitar. And the ones in my guitar right now have been fantastic, but I'm not sure what they are. So I'm not sure what we're using right now. Tim Quarter says, just getting on. Lyle said he would have loved to work on a GK 250ML. Did you get yours fixed? No, I need it fixed. Can I send it to him? How do I get in touch with him? I need mine fixed. I gotta just get it. It sounds terrible, and I haven't moved on it at all. And so yeah. I need to get that done. Thanks for the super chat, Tim. So if you have a way to get in touch with him, let him know I got one that I'd love to send out, and I'd love it if it was completely regenerated. Partially thanks to you and Psionic Audio. I think I'm picking up another Top Hat King Royale to replace the one I sold. I don't need another amp. You do, though. They're great, except mine blew up 2 days ago, except it's now fixed. It was just a phase inverter, I think, was the tube roasted, and the other tube's red plated, and so we put some different tubes in there, and now it's working again. Yeah. Ben Coombs says, just a heads up, he's live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Everybody check out Ben's show. Any more? Did I miss any super chats or anything? I'm gonna get out of here pretty quick, because I got some work I got to do. All the way down on the bottom here. Everything looks good. I think I've gotten all the super chats. Okay, so I'm going to split and get some work done. Next week, everybody, remember, please, Kim's appearance on my show. Kim from Soundgarden is going to be on next week. We're going to take a look at his new Guild Polara model. We're going to talk to him about that. We're going to talk to him about all kinds of stuff. I can't wait. It's going to be really fun, exciting. And it's 2 p.m. next week. So 2 p.m. Pacific. It's a little bit later than usual because that was a request of his. So I'm honoring that for sure. And we will see you next week. For you guys in Europe, that'll be kind of late, but still doable. 2 p.m. next Sunday. That's right. So we'll see you next week. The watch page is up already if you want to bookmark it or anything like that. Set your alarms, set your reminders. And we'll see you next week. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much. I appreciate you all. Everybody be nice to one another. And have a terrific week. Lots of videos coming this week, too. Should see the one for the Fender modeler. But I need to make an amp for or make a video for a Soldano amp right now. So I'm going to get to that. All right. See you guys. Rock and roll.